I've gone through my entire library of industrial real estate related books, and in this video I'm going to share with you which ones are my favorite. I also have two books I'll recommend at the end. One is if you're focusing on industrial real estate from an investment perspective, and the other is if your focus is from a brokerage or advisory standpoint. You'll discover two things as I go through this video. One, there isn't a single book that will teach you everything you need to know. Instead, there are a series of different books which will each offer you unique insight. Two, I am a full-on industrial real estate nerd. It might even border on being an unhealthy obsession. I've read a number of other books that I haven't included in this list. If there's industrial in the title, I've probably read it. But instead of covering every book, my intent with this video is to highlight the ones I think you'll really get some value from. So roll the quick intro. The first one I'm going to start with is a book that I think everyone in industrial real estate should have on their bookshelf. It's called Infrastructure, A Guide to the Industrial Landscape. It's not specifically about industrial buildings, but instead all the infrastructure that connects the dots between industrial real estate and our everyday life. There are detailed explanations about rail networks, oil and gas, roads and bridges, all with full color illustrations throughout. Along the lines of having some historical context about industrial real estate, that's where these next three book recommendations come in. The first is all about the Industrial Revolution. The author goes into remarkable detail about how industrialization swept across Europe and North America and the lasting impact it's had on society as a whole. I'd recommend this book to anyone interested in history in general, actually. Next is Industrial Heritage Retooled, which is available from the International Committee for the Conservation of the Industrial Heritage. As you can appreciate, there are a lot of areas in the world that no longer require all the older industrial properties. So this book addresses adaptive reuse and how we can still preserve the rich industrial heritage that really shapes cities as we know them today. Continuing on with that theme is Industry, Architecture, and Engineering, which does a historical analysis of industrial architecture and civil engineering in the US. This is a fascinating book, which addresses the vast industrial heritage of the US. It makes a killer coffee table book too. Let's move on to some more modern topics though. And I'll start with the most modern of them all, Industrial Intelligence. This book was just released by Justin Smith, a tenant rep broker in California. Not only does he have an MBA and a master's in real estate development, he's completed over 5 million square feet worth of transactions. This book is written through the lens of a company looking to lease industrial real estate, so it doesn't tell the whole story, but if you wanted to read a single book on industrial real estate, this would be a great place to start. I enjoyed this book so much that I reached out to Justin and actually did an interview with him. Once it's ready, I'll post a link to that video in the description as well. The next few books are all geared around warehousing, logistics, and supply chain management. First is The Way to Go by Kate Asher. I have a couple of her other books as well, and I'm a big fan of her work. As you can tell by the cover, this book explains how things move by sea, land, and air. There's a term called intermodal transportation, which essentially is when two or more modes are involved in moving a good from one location to another. An example is a product that goes from China to the middle of the US. In this case, it's likely went by boat, then by train, then by truck. This book gives you a solid overview of how the whole system is interconnected. This leads to Door to Door by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Edward Humes. This certainly isn't a book written specifically for the industry, but instead it's a non-biased overview on just how complex transportation really is. This is a very well-written book and I highly recommend it. Closely related to it is 90% of Everything by Rose George. This book is written from the author's perspective as she physically documents her travels aboard a cargo ship. Again, it's not directly related to industrial real estate, but it's a fascinating first-hand story about how things get from A to B. The last one pertaining to warehouses is Warehouse Management. I almost didn't include this one as it's more geared towards operating a warehouse from a company's perspective, but I've included it here because there are a few sections which are very applicable to the building itself. And I also think having a solid understanding of what the end user needs from the space can also be very beneficial. If you want to do a deeper dive, I have a few textbooks to also recommend. I've read a handful of books on construction, but this one is by far the best one. It's very thorough and goes into all types of construction, and it certainly goes well beyond the scope of what I needed it for, but the parts where you'll get some value are in regards to the full construction process, such as zoning, working with designers and architects, as well as great explanations into the various components of a building. Next is Real Estate Finance and Investment by Peter Linneman. There's a full course you can take from REFM based on this textbook, but if you're looking for information on analyzing a property from a financial perspective, this book alone does a fantastic job of explaining discounted cash flow analysis, net present value, and internal rate of return. The last textbook is Professional Real Estate Development from the Urban Land Institute. Even if you're not pursuing developments, having a solid understanding of the process will help you out tremendously. There's some overlap with the first 2 textbooks I've mentioned as well, but these 3 textbooks could easily form the foundation for a solid industrial real estate education. One more textbook of sorts, which has long been out of print, is appropriately titled Industrial Real Estate. This is a second edition that I tracked down a couple of years ago and was put out by the Society of Industrial Realtors. That organization is now called SIOR, the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, and I'm proud to have been a member of it since 2017. This book reads exactly like you'd expect a textbook from 1970 to read. It's very dry, but it's also densely packed with a lot of information that is still relevant today. You're gonna have to track one down from a private seller if you're interested, and truthfully, at the price you'll pay to get it, I think there's more value from the other books that I've already mentioned. And if anyone from SIOR is watching this, it's time to do an update on this book. I'd love to be involved if you need help. Just before I get to the last 2 recommendations, one quick note is that some of the links below will take you to Amazon. And if you order from there, Amazon will pay me a small fee. I'll be donating 100% of any amount I make to the SIOR Foundation, which is the arm of SIOR dedicated to education and development for the next generation of commercial real estate professionals. The foundation supports students in university programs, emerging commercial real estate professionals, and current professionals looking to increase their knowledge. I'm hoping we can make a decent donation to the foundation, and to increase the contribution, I'll double whatever amount is raised through this affiliate program. It doesn't cost you any extra if you order using the links below, and you'll be helping to support the future leaders of our industry. But as promised, here are 2 additional books that I can enthusiastically recommend. If you're a broker or planning on becoming a broker, check out To Be or Not to Be Intimidated by Robert Ringer. It was written a long time ago, but it's a tale of how Robert flew in his private jet all over the country working on deals. This will inspire you if you're planning on becoming a broker or even just sharpening some of your skills. If you're planning on investing in industrial real estate, check out Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur by James Randall. This was recommended to me by Rafael Coelho, who coincidentally has a book coming out soon as well called Before You Sign That Lease. I ordered a copy of Rafael's book, and I'm sure it's a great book based on what I know about Rafael. But back to Randall's book. I actually did the audio version of this one. Randall is a lawyer by training, but has invested in a considerable amount of deals over the years, and this book is part storytelling, part investment theory. I really enjoyed reading it, or should I say listening to it. So that's my list. If there are any great books you've read on industrial real estate that I didn't mention, please leave a comment below as well. I'm always looking to read another great book myself. And if this video helped at all, please hit that like button. It would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.